What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the additional stimulus provisions in the next infrastructure/stimulus package, as well as what is going on in the world today. In the last couple videos, I asked you what you wanted me to change this sign to, and the most common answer was you wanted me to leave it the same. You liked this sign so much. We decided to leave it as we are family for another go around. So yes, we are one big community here, one big family. If you haven't joined our family yet, subscribe down below as it's completely free to do so. I don't charge anything to join our family and subscribe. It just makes it more likely for you to see our videos as we have new videos every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to bring you all the latest news and updates on stimulus and what's going on in the world today. Don't forget to hit the like button and let's jump right in. The US government now has a travel advisory warning against 80% of the countries in the world. You may want to reconsider any plans to travel abroad. That's the recommendation from the US State Department, which updated its travel advisories list this week, warning against Americans' foreign travel to about 80% of all countries worldwide, calling the risk to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic to travelers, quote, unprecedented. The U.S. State Department said in an April 19th statement that it strongly recommends U.S. citizens reconsider all travel abroad. Quote, we believe the updated framework will help Americans make better informed decisions about the safety of international travel, said a State Department official. Quote, we are closely monitoring health and safety conditions across the globe, and we will continue to update our destination-specific information for U.S. travelers as conditions evolve. As a result of this update, some 8 out of 10 nations around the globe are classified as Level 4 do not travel. More than 100 countries were recategorized Level 4, including popular destinations such as Canada, Mexico, France, and the United Kingdom. And rightfully so, I was actually shocked to see this new information. As you can see here on this graph, this is new cases worldwide. As you can see here, we had a steady increase in November, December, and January, followed by a slight decrease. But now we are seeing a sudden spike of new cases, higher than we have ever seen before. In fact, if I can zoom in here, you can see this graph. It's actually drastically higher as we are seeing new spikes in cases for over 2 million people testing positive here in the most recent update from this. It's just a massive spike, as you can see here. Look at that spike. And it's not just for new cases, it's also for deaths as well. As you can see here, the massive spike here, it's actually crazy that it went up that high. This comes as the US is starting to see an increase in cases as well, as we now have 32 million people in the US that have tested positive, with 571,000 deaths from this virus. Worldwide, we are now over 3 million people that have passed from this virus in the entire world. The United States is the leading country with the most amount of deaths, with 571,000, followed by Brazil with 386,000, and then India with 190,000. So yeah, it's this could be going on for a while. There's also a fight going on in our country right now on whether or not you should have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. Some people are still fighting whether or not you should have to wear a mask at all, as more and more states are opening up and dropping restrictions in states opening up completely in different variations, as the U.S. government and the White House is urging not to reduce restrictions and to continue wearing masks, as we're seeing a new spike in cases. Yet most states are actually reopening up at this point. And well, we'll have to see what happens. Let me know what you think is going to happen here within the next few weeks. By the way, in a new recent poll, still 22%, almost 1/4 of all Americans in the United States, say they are still unlikely to take the vaccine at all. And this alone will likely mean that we can't get to herd immunity, as they say you need to get to 70 to 80% for herd immunity, and this alone would probably exclude the country from being able to reach that. There's a renewed push over the last 24 hours from both the White House and Republicans to go with a bipartisan strategy to try to pass a smaller infrastructure package, the first part of the next stimulus slash infrastructure package, and to get Republicans on board and be able to pass it without using the reconciliation process. Now, remember, most of these stimulus items are not really in the first part of the infrastructure package. They're more in the second part of the infrastructure package, which is called the American Families Plan. The first part, the physical infrastructure part of the package, is called the American Jobs Plan, as it will create millions and millions of jobs. And even Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, who's always been a thorn in the side of the Democrats and middle leaning, sometimes leaning even Republican, says that he thinks it would actually be a good idea to compromise with Republicans, go with a smaller infrastructure package, pass it with Republican support, and not have to use a reconciliation card or a reconciliation process and be able to save that for another package in the future. Remember, the Senate parliamentarian has ruled they can pass two different packages with the reconciliation process just this fiscal year alone, and then more next year. So if they're able to pass the first part of the infrastructure package, albeit a smaller package for infrastructure, they could save that reconciliation card and use it for another package after the American Families Plan. Even Senator Joe Manchin says it's very likely that they're going to have to pass the second part of the package, the stimulus part of the package, where we have multiple different stimulus items being talked upon and negotiated on right now. Although right between, mostly between the Democrats, even Senator Joe Manchin says they're probably going to have to pass that with the reconciliation process, which means no Republican support, and the Democrats will be the only ones to pass the second part, the stimulus part of the package. Now, interestingly enough, the infrastructure part of the package, and possibly the second part as well, this is the first time we've seen out of the 6 stimulus packages that have been passed, 5 underneath former President Donald Trump, 1 underneath President Biden. 3 of them had stimulus checks. The other ones had other provisions in there. That they actually want to raise taxes in a couple different ways to help pay for part of these the raises besides stimulus. Well, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was just asked about this and pressed about this. Listen in.
Yesterday, I think Mario mentioned the stock market dipped a little bit in response to the reports about your tax plans. Just wondered what the White House's feeling is or reaction is to that. Are you concerned about Wall Street's support or lack of support for these policies, and to what extent does that play into your discussions?
I've been doing this long enough not to comment on movements in the stock market, but I did see just data factually that it went back up this morning.
Go ahead. Back to the infrastructure negotiations. Yeah. We saw the White House respond pretty positively, or at least consider Joe Manchin's proposal to raise the corporate tax rate to 25 instead of 28%, as was the initial proposal. So should we read this conversation about raising the corporate tax rate to 39.5% as more of a starting offer?
Well, the president's proposal for the American Jobs Plan was about modernizing and making a historic investment in our infrastructure. The tax component was about how to pay for it. We're very open to a range of options, and he has some lines in the sand we've talked about, including not having the American people pay for it, or not being on the backs of the American people. It relates to the capital gains rates and the top margins that you've seen reported out there. You know, the president's bottom line is that people making under $400,000 a year will not have their taxes go up. So if you look at these proposed numbers, which are consistent with what he talked about on the campaign trail when he was running for president, what I can say is that it will only affect people making more than $1 million a year. That's 0.3% of taxpayers, or 3 out of every 1,000 taxpayers. That's even as the top 1% saw their net worth rise by $4 trillion in the middle of a historic pandemic. So he has some bottom lines of where he will not budge fast, right, on individual numbers and who will be impacted, but he's also open to discussion.
An increasing number of Democrats think that stimulus checks should be permanent, or at least monthly stimulus checks for at least duration of until the pandemic is over, or even a number of months after the pandemic. An increasing number of people and Democrats think so. As you can see here, the pandemic has changed the American social safety net in dramatic but temporary ways. On top of the expanded unemployment insurance benefits, Americans have received 3 stimulus checks, an amount of aid that comes to nearly $850 billion. But what if it was permanent? Some Democrats and economists want this to be the new normal, saying that recurring aid would ensure equitable economic recovery and sustain growth even long after the pandemic is over. A new report that came out on Thursday that a fourth and fifth stimulus check could cut the number of Americans in poverty in 2021 from 44 million to 16 million, while helping close imbalances in poverty. A group of over 125 economists wrote an open letter calling for recurring stimulus payments or monthly stimulus payments tied to economic conditions beyond the single check for each American included in the next stimulus plan. Quote, recurring direct payments will help families meet basic needs, boost state and local economies, and speed the recovery, and should be paired with other valuable programs like unemployment benefits, aid to state and local government, stronger SNAP benefits, robust child care funding, and more. A growing number of Democrat lawmakers are also pushing to increase unemployment benefits through multiple different strategies, including permanent proposals to increase the unemployment boost per se, but in a different way. A new proposal led by Senator Ron Wyden for unemployment reform would actually make it so that all states would be on the same page and not have different programs state by state, including an increase of the amount you would get if you lose your job, as most states are around 50%. If you make $1,000 a week, you would only receive $500 per week. This new reform bill on unemployment would raise that to 75%. So if you lose your job temporarily, you would receive 75% of the amount that you lost or that you had when you were working at your job. They would raise that to 75%. And some states are actually below 50%. That would be a huge increase, almost double the amount that some states would pay out or currently pay out now, that this new reform bill would actually increase it to. This actually could be a permanent expansion of unemployment benefits, as lawmakers want President Biden to include payments in the anti poverty package set to be rolled out next week, known as the second half of the infrastructure package, the American Families Plan. This is where we will likely end up seeing at least a fourth stimulus check, possibly monthly recurring stimulus checks, as well as all these other provisions such as new unemployment overhaul, a Medicare expansion, including new government benefits for Medicare, completely free included, hearing, vision, dental, hearing aids, and other provisions, including lower prescription drug prices. Senator Bernie Sanders says they can save $450 billion simply from negotiating prescription drug prices with big pharmaceutical companies to make them pay this, make them give us the prescription drugs such as insulin and inhalers for the exact same price that they give it to other countries. Apparently, America is being gouged, and Americans are being gouged as they've learned that they can charge us more than what they charge for other countries for the exact same medicine or prescription. Big pharmaceutical companies are charging us up to 10 times more money for prescription drugs like insulin and inhalers than what they charge other countries. So if they sell it to other countries for the same for that price, we should be able to get that as well. Senator Bernie Sanders says that would save the American government up to $450 billion every single year, and we can use that towards stimulus programs such as expanding Medicare or possibly even Social Security. Another thing that could be included in these stimulus package would be the $10,200 unemployment tax waiver. Remember, they've already passed this in the third stimulus check package. However, it was retroactive for 2020 and not for the year 2021. This would make the first $10,200 of unemployment income that you have completely tax-free. This is already in effect for the year 2020, and it likely will mean an extra $1,000 tax refund, tax rebate, or stimulus money in your pocket. It could be more. It could be as high as $2,500 if your tax rate is 25% or possibly even more. However, this is not passed for 2021 yet, but I think we could see that in either this next infrastructure package or even the next package after that to include another $10,200 of unemployment income tax-free for the year 2021. There's so many different provisions that they want to put in this next infrastructure package. We will likely end up seeing probably a dozen different stimulus items like those included in this next infrastructure package, along with what I think will be at least a fourth stimulus check. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates. We cover different items, different stimulus items in different videos, so don't miss an episode. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date on all the stimulus items that are possibly in the next package or can be done through standalone bills or through presidential executive order. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on the Amazon FBA platform. I have dozens of students that have already replaced their 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.